going to do part 2 of God is My Judge, which is the book of Daniel today. We've talked before about the statue of 4 metals that was in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and I'm going to continue with that part right now. And if that statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream really is an image of the Babylonian Empire, and not an image of 4 separate and individual kingdoms, it makes more sense prophetically. If you look at Babylon as being a world system of government and not just a city of ancient times, but it has been with us since the beginning. And if each successive world power defeated the one before it in the traditional interpretation, then Rome, which defeated Greece, and before that Greece had defeated Media-Persia. Before that, Media-Persia defeated Babylon. Wouldn't that mean that the statue is upside down? Shouldn't Rome be the head of the statue and Babylon the feet, as each successive empire stands on the ruins of the one it conquers? The fact that the 4 empires or kingdoms are presented in reverse order on the statue could be a clue that we should look for a deeper hidden meaning in the statue of 4 metals. Thou, O King, art the King of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given unto thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. Daniel identifies Nebuchadnezzar as a king of kings, with power and strength and glory, as God made Nebuchadnezzar ruler over them all. God gave the pagan king Nebuchadnezzar all that he had once given Solomon, except wisdom. Yet Solomon, even with his great wisdom, was eventually corrupted by the world, worshiping many idols and false gods. At the end of the age, the true King of Kings will return with power and strength and glory and wisdom to rule the world with justice and righteousness, something that a mortal man will never accomplish. For it must be done without pride, without that one idol that all men must set aside, but many cannot: self. Daniel proclaims that Nebuchadnezzar is a king of kings. In the book of Revelation, John sees Christ riding out of heaven on a white horse, and on his vesture and thigh is written, King of Kings. This parallel drawn between Nebuchadnezzar and Christ suggests the mockery of the pagan king's authority over the world versus the future rule of the King of Kings in the millennial kingdom, when Christ will rule the world, and what is upside down will be set right again. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Daniel tells us that each successive kingdom after Nebuchadnezzar is less or weaker than the one before it, which doesn't make sense. How can a weaker or lesser empire defeat an empire that rules the world with great power and strength, unless that ruling empire has lost its power and strength? Since Daniel is foretelling the future, he does not give the names of the future kings, but refers to them as kingdoms. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. The Hebrew word used for kingdom is malkuth, which translates to royalty, reign, or kingdom. So the second and third kingdoms in Daniel could actually be translated to reigns or royalties, meaning different kings, not necessarily different kingdoms. Every kingdom has to have a king. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon, but he was not the last king of Babylon, of the Babylonian Empire. Even if malkuth is to be taken to mean a kingdom, it could still refer to one nation or empire. as each successive king ruled his own kingdom, and would certainly be the first to tell you that was his kingdom, even if all three of them were the same city or nation. The second part of the statue of the Babylonian Empire is the reign of Nebuchadnezzar's son, Evil-Merodach. He reigned for a little over 2 years. Evil-Merodach conducted his government in an illegal and improper manner and was slain by his sister's husband. Nergal-Sharezer, Evil-Merodach, was the chest and arms of silver, important and valuable, but less than gold. The empire of Babylon, under the rule of Evil-Merodach, was losing its power and becoming less important in the world. Thus, Babylon is compared to a chest and arms, which represent a source of strength, of silver. It is still Babylon, just less than its former status when King Nebuchadnezzar, the golden head of the statue, was in power. For the next few years, Babylon's kings came and went quickly. Following Nergal-Sharezer, the brother-in-law of Evil-Merodach, came Labashi-Marduk. Nergal-Sharerzer's son, who was murdered not long after taking the throne, was still a child when he was killed, very young. And then came Nabonidus, who was a military general that preferred the battlefield to the throne. He left the everyday business of running Babylon to his son Belshazzar. Even though there were 4 different kings between Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar, there were only 3 different generations of rulers before Babylon was conquered by Medo-Persia. The third and final king of the glorious Babylonian Empire was Belshazzar. He was the belly and thighs of brass. Belshazzar was weak and prideful, and because of his flamboyant excesses, Babylon was in decline. The Aramaic word used for brass is nekash, which is the word used for brass, bronze, and copper. Keep the word nekash in mind, for it appears again in the latter days. Now the kings between Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar were all one generation. There was 4 different kings, but they were all the same generation. So that's how we get 3 generations of kings that ruled Babylon. And this is what the prophecy of Jeremiah told us would happen with Babylon. Babylon would be ruled by 3 generations of Babylonians before its fall. I have made the earth, the man, and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power and my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. And the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him. And all nations shall serve him, and his son and his son's son, until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. Jeremiah says that the 3 generations will rule in Babylon before the very time of his land come, which means the latter days. In chapter 4 of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar is told in a dream that the stump of his kingdom would remain after Babylon's fall, remain but be bound by a band of brass and iron to keep it from growing until the very time of his land come again, which would be the end of the age. And whereas the king saw a watcher and an holy one coming down from heaven and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the field, till 7 times pass over him. In the latter days, the final kingdom of Babylon the Great will rise up out of the sea, which represents the chaotic world. A scarlet beast, the global government, will rule the world till 7 times pass over him. America is the harlot queen sitting upon the scarlet beast, luxuriously upon her golden throne, served by many. But the throne will be knocked to the ground, and America will sit in the dust, a queen no more. The government falls into the hands of the lawless man, but he, the lawless man, is hiding in the shadows until the seal judgments are opened. He rules from behind the throne and holds up the drunkard king who falls down as though he drinks too much. But the drunkard's head is empty and his thoughts are written for him, else he has none. Let him who has ears hear. God called Nebuchadnezzar my servant, giving Babylon dominion over all the world. America has been God's servant from its founding. A great statue stands in the harbor across from New York City on Liberty Island. The copper statue represents the Roman goddess of liberty, Libertas. Remember, the third part of the statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream was made of brass, and the Aramaic word used for brass is nikash, which is used for brass, bronze, and copper. The Statue of Liberty is made of copper, nikash, as was the third part of Nebuchadnezzar's statue. The final king of Babylon was Belshazzar, the third son of Jeremiah's prophecy. The belly and thighs of brass, and all nations shall serve him, and his son's son, until the very time of his land come, and then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. America, the harlot, sits upon the scarlet beast, waiting until the very time of his land come. Being the belly and thighs of brass represents fertility and reproduction, even though Babylon ceased to be a physical place. The stump that remained was watered by the dew of heaven, which kept it fertile and alive, that it might reproduce and grow to great heights again. The statue of the copper goddess of liberty stands in the harbor of New York, holding a flaming torch in her hand. Raised above her head, in her left hand she carries the tabula insata, which is a Roman tablet used in imperial Rome, which represents the law. Inscribed upon the tablet in Roman numerals is the date, July 4, 1776, the date of the Declaration of Independence. The copper statue wears a stola and a pella. The stola is a traditional garment worn by the women of ancient Rome. The pella was a gown and cloak worn by Roman goddesses. The crown upon the head of the statue is a radiant diadem, which is a crown similar to what Christ wore. The crown has 7 spikes that evoke the sun, the 7 seas, and the 7 continents, which represent the world. The sun and the torch imagery represent the way the goddess enlightens the world with liberty. A cornerstone in the base of the pedestal contains a plaque placed there by the Freemasons. Inscribed upon the plaque are the words, "Liberty enlightens the world." How does the Roman goddess of liberty, Libertas, enlighten the world? Without God, there is only darkness and enslavement. The copper idol that stands in the harbor holds a flaming torch, and at her feet are broken chains. Could the broken chains symbolize the chains that bind the dragon in the abyss for 1,000 years? And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. In 1903, another plaque was placed at the base of the statue, and inscribed on it was a poem titled "The New Colossus," written by Emma Lazarus, a Jewish-American poet in 1883. Colossus was a statue of the Greek sun god Helios. The poem, "The New Colossus," by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lip. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. The Statue of Liberty was designed by French sculptor Frederic Auguste Bartholdi, and its metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower, Gustave. The statue was donated to the American people on October 28, 1886, and was a gift from the French people. The brazen giant of Greek fame refers to a brash Nakash giant. Calling the statue a brass giant seems to connect it to the third part of the statue of Babylon, the belly and thighs of brass. Without knowing the poet's intended meaning for some of the phrases, it is possible that the phrase, the flame is the imprisoned lightning, refers to the Greek god Zeus, who ruled as king of the gods on Mount Olympus and hurled lightning bolts at his enemies. Mother of exiles could refer to those exiles that were cut off from God, the lost 10 tribes of Israel. The pagan influence of Greek and Roman deities, which are idols, are prevalent throughout American architecture and culture, and deeply embedded in the doctrines of the Christian churches of America. We need only look as far as the national and religious holidays celebrated each year in America to see the pagan rituals and images of false gods being worshipped all across America. That leaves only the fourth medal of the mighty statue, and